Chadian government has long blamed the Sudanese government for funding and supporting Chadian rebels. Only a year and a half ago, Chadian rebels staged an advance and a march on the city that was thwarted just barely a mile from the presidential palace, rumored at the time to be thwarted with the aid of French troops here in the country. The president, when I interviewed him after it, denied that was the case, but the way President Idris Deby dealt with the rebels was actually to give a top ministerial post to the leader of the rebel group at that time. But this has been a strong contention of the Chadian government that Sudan is behind their problems. They have 250,000 refugees from Darfur, about 150,000 of their own internally displaced people. They blame Chad for this. They blame, rather, Sudan for this. One of the reasons they blame Sudan in this way is the political tensions between the two countries. But these rebel groups have made their home along the border with Sudan, just inside Chad. This border area has been beyond the reach of the Chadian government for at least the past 6 months. When we were there in the summer, this was a very fragile situation along the border. Some of it was no-go for Chadian troops, and this is the area the rebels are believed to have come from along the border with Sudan, and the Chadian government saying that it is the Sudanese government that supported the rebels in this push to destabilize them.
And Nick, speaking of instability, what are you hearing about the situation? The ambassador insisted when I was talking to him that things are under the government's control. The president is in his palace. What are you hearing?
Well, perhaps the best information we're getting at this time is coming from the French troops who are in N'Djamena, the capital of Chad. They are providing security around a number of international hotels. They say there are about 700 Westerners who are gathered at collection points, including 3 main international hotels in the capital, and the French troops are providing them protection. We also understand there are some Austrian troops providing protection as well around another hotel. A French officer with those troops said that there has been fighting through the day. He said there was fighting taking place in the afternoon, in the morning. He described 3 armed columns of rebels entering the capital, N'Djamena, and that fighting had been taking place all day. He didn't clarify what the situation was at the presidential palace. I've been to that palace several times. It has not particularly strong fortifications. The walls would be easy for rebels to climb over. The strong metal gates could potentially easily be broken down. There are generally only a few lightly armed guards on those gates. The presidential compound itself behind another secure wall. The president himself keeps a number of vehicles there on standby so he can move away from the presidential palace if he needs to. The palace is actually right up against the main river that flows through the capital, N'Djamena, so that gives him another point of departure if he needs to escape the presidential palace. But he has withstood this type of attack before, but the French officer on the ground there has not been able to provide so far clarification on the situation for the president. But there are not particularly strong defenses around his palace. A large number of rebels, unless they were met by an equal force of soldiers on the ground, and the French say they're not involved in this fight at the time. This time, if they were not met by a large force, would very likely gain pretty quick and easy access to that presidential palace